Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Then as soon as we wanted to watch it on that Forgotten Cinema, it goes to A&E, and I got to pay to rent it.
She obliterates his area. He's back up fighting like there's no pain going through there.
Lady, you're about 5 punches to the balls
That
too late.
guy-
There's nothing down there but dust.
That guy needs to be on the floor writhing in pain.
Oh, man, he reads a lot. He's such a learned man. He's so great. He's so much better than everyone.
He is, right? Look at that review.
God. Oh, my God. Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you are listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, we want to hear from you. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Find us. Our podcast is available on all platforms with a backlog of over 150 episodes for your listening pleasure.
What's up?
Not a whole lot. Just trying to rip off a town with a boxing match, make a lot of money, and get out of Dodge. But I'm going to use money I borrowed from the mob to make it extra complicated.
We're back in the 90s, 1992. We're doing the movie Diggstown.
Which means no one can find it.
I found it. I told you on Tubi.
Yeah, just with ads.
I told you there wasn't many ads on Tubi.
Well, not yours. But yours also might have been glitching out. I had to watch like 8 ads for Pluto TV, and they were the same ad over and over and over.
That sounds like another podcast's problem. But right now, we're talking about Diggstown. After being released from a Georgia prison, smooth-talking conman Gabriel Caine teams up with his partner in crime, Fitz, and travels to remote Diggstown. Upon arriving, Fitz and Caine bet the wealthiest resident, former boxing manager, Gillon, that they know a guy who can beat Diggstown's 10 best fighters in one day. After Caine reels in Honey Boy Palmer, an aging boxer and old acquaintance, the grift is on. That's all right. This is Butler's never seen this film, right?
No, I'd never even heard of this film.
Nice.
Before you...
It's a classic Field. I remember watching this. Diggstown has a runtime of 98 minutes. Rated R, production budget of $17 million. Came out on August 14th, 1992. Its opening weekend, it did $1.5 million. Domestic, $4.8. Did not have an international release, so it's worldwide as $4.8 as well. $1 million, that is.
A big winner.
Well, that's why it's part of the podcast. That's why we're doing it. Production company was Eclectic Films and was distributed by MGM. Came out on the 14th. He went up against in a wide release single white female and Stay Tuned. Do you remember those?
Single white female. I don't know what Stay Tuned is though.
That's with John Ritter.
Oh, is that about he's
TV.
like a screenwriter?
Yeah. Yep. No.
Oh, okay.
That's you think about Delirious with John Candy?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Limited release, you had Johnny Suede and The Living End, which, fun fact, I watched The Living End not like a month ago on the Criterion Channel.
I don't know what that is either.
That's a Gregor Rocky film. It's about these two guys that both have HIV. They both one just learns that he's HIV positive, and the other one has known he is, and they go on a killing spree. It's
nice.
It's interesting. It's really independent. So it's like it's an indie film, and it's basically a Rocky kind of anti-establishment, against how the government. There's a huge thing at the end of the thing about how the government and how they're mismanaged, or they turn their backs on the AIDS epidemic and all that stuff. But it's not for everyone.
Gotcha.
Most Gregor Rocky films are not for everyone. But I don't mind it. The August 21st, the week after, you had a wide release of Rapid Fire. Christopher Columbus, The Discovery, which I've never heard of.
I've seen that.
I'm sorry, I guess.
It's all right.
They also had The Gun and Betty Lou's Handbag, and a limited release, A Brief History in Time, which is the doc, I believe. On the 7th of August, the week before, you had a wide release of Unforgiven, which is an awesome film.
Mm-hmm.
Three Ninjas, Raising Caine, and Whispers in the Dark.
Those ones I know.
There you go. This movie, Diggstown, is directed by Michael Ritchie, who's done The Candidate, Bad News Bears, and Fletch. I think he did Fletch Lives as well. Written by Stephen McKay, who did Hard to Kill, Darkman 2, The Return of Durant, which is a TV film, and he did The Magic of Christmas 2. This movie, Diggstown, is based on a book called The Diggstown Ringers, written by Leonard Wise. So this is based on a novel. So if you like that stuff.
Okay. If you like novels.
Well, of course. Who doesn't? Cinematography was Jerry Fisher, who's done Running on Empty, a show that we did, a movie that we did in one of our episodes, the movie Highlander and Victory, which we keep saying we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Composer was James Newton Howard, which we've talked about him before. Is nominated for a ton of Oscars, hasn't won. Prince of Tides, The Fugitive, Junior, One Fine Day, to name a few.
Man just needs to win an Oscar already.
You go listen to our episode about Michael Caine. I believe we talk about him in that as well. Edited by Don Zimmerman, who's done Coming Home, who's nominated for an Oscar for Coming Home. Also did Rocky 3, Liar Liar, and Bill and Ted Face the Music more recently. Produced by Robert Schaffel, who's done Jackknife, Pontiac Moon, and Distant Thunder. So we have James Woods as Gabriel Caine. He's done the movie Vampires, which we covered, Butler.
Yes, sir.
Nominated for 2 Oscars, one for Ghost of Mississippi and the other for Salvador. And he's also in, more recently, White House Down, which I think was probably his last big film. Louis Gossett Jr. as Honey Roy Palmer. Won an Oscar for his role in An Officer and a Gentleman. He's also in Enemy Mine, which I believe we're doing this season or maybe next season. And he's in Jaws 3D. Bruce Dern as John Gillon, who was nominated for 2 Oscars, one for Coming Home and Nebraska. He's also in Silent Running, which is an episode we did, and The Burbs, our very first episode.
Yes, sir.
So we're completing the Bruce Dern trilogy here. Oliver Platt as Fitz, who's in the TV show Chicago Med. He's also in the movie Lake Placid, 2012, and Bicentennial Man. Heather Graham as Emily Forrester from Boogie Nights, Bowfinger, Lost in Space, and the Hangover movies. Well, actually 1 and 3, excuse me. Randall Tex Cobb as Wolf Forrester. They are brother and sister, Emily and Wolf. He is obviously in Raising Arizona, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and The Golden Child. And then Thomas Wilson Brown as Robbie Gillon. I only have him here because I was watching this movie and I'm like, I think that's the kid from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And it was the kid.
Nice.
He's also in Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael. And then you have a couple people in here that might be recognizable. Like, hey, I know who that is. Jim Caviezel is Billy. He plays his friend.
Okay.
He obviously, from Frequency and The Passion of the Christ. Marshall Bell, who plays the warden, is Quado in Total Recall. Wilhelm von Homburg, who plays Charles Macon Diggs, is in the movie In the Mouth of Madness, which we did last season for Forgotten Horror.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I knew who the character looked like, the Macon Diggs character looked like, but when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, he looks really familiar. I think I was like, I've seen him in something.
He's also Vigo in Ghostbusters too.
There you go. There's another one. See, it's like,
so that's the first thing when I saw him, I was like, "It's Vigo."
He gets around.
But I have to say it like that, like the guy who he hypnotizes.
You had Michael DiLorenzo as Paolo. He's in the movie Alive and A Few Good Men, and then Benny Urquidez as the referee. And I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, I know this referee from something, and I don't know where I know this referee from. Did he look familiar to you?
No.
Okay, so he is the hitman who gets blown up at the convenience store in Grosse Pointe Blank.
Oh, really?
Fight, yeah, the burrito fight. He's also a kickboxing world champion, which is probably why he was in this. But I couldn't, I'm watching it going, I know this guy. Why do I know this guy? So anyway.
He gets a nice punch to the face.
He does. He gets clocked. I love it. So Butler's never seen this film. I have. I really like this film. It's not perfect. I think the last 40 minutes of the movie when it gets into the fights and all that stuff, I think that really just kind of picks up. When I first watched this film, the big thing that I liked about this film was the con, because I was completely fooled about stuff. And, because I think 92, it's probably I'm 17. So I wasn't really haven't seen a lot of these films.
Right.
So I'm sure you have seen this. You've seen films like this. So I'm sure maybe you saw things ahead of time as you watched it now when I didn't back then. So I'm curious, but I am curious what you thought about the film. I mean, at least your first thoughts.
No, I'm just kidding. I liked it. I mean, I like James Woods, especially 90s James Woods. He's really cocky. And he just spouts one-liners. He's super sarcastic. I've always liked that. I really liked Louis Gossett Jr. in this film as well. You meet him a little later in the movie because they do take their time to set up the con. And that is a little bit kind of all right, let's go. But I was surprised that the last almost hour of the movie is the fight.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. They do not gloss over the fight as one big Rocky montage.
They get right to it.
They get to it. It takes its time. Every little challenger is its own little mini story, which I really appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. And I like that, you think that when Roy shows up, because he shows up so late in the story.
Yeah.
I thought they were just going to gloss over Roy. Roy wasn't going to be a huge part of it. He was just going to be a means to an end. And he really does become almost one of the main, second billing to James Woods pretty much in terms of he's on all the posters and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's definitely I mean, he's on the posters because he's a big name.
Yeah, he's absolutely huge.
But it's definitely it almost turns into a buddy movie.
It's buddy crime kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're in on it more than even James Woods, Gabriel and Fitz were.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that about the film.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's also not perfect because there's a lot of stuff they gloss over.
Sure.
A lot of stuff that just doesn't some stakes are too low. Some stakes end up being way too high.
In what regard?
In terms of like Wolf and his whole thing, and Slim gets hanged, and like that's really intense.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of the rest of the crime that's going on.
It gets like there's like people getting killed. So
Right.
it's not like it's not a PG-13 film, which I kind of like I don't, because you know what I mean?
The
Like the
grifters-
stakes are high.
The stakes are high.
Right.
They're criminals.
He runs the town. Like Bruce Dern's character, John Gillon, runs the town. So
'cause he
he's going to
owns-
do
he
whatever
bought
he
up the
wants.
town.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just thought like, all right, so now you're killing somebody. You're basically killing himself.
Right.
So now the stakes are high, but I feel like I was already okay with where the stakes were.
Right.
So I didn't find that necessarily like the threatening maybe, but I didn't find the actual murder necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the prison warden who just randomly shows up at the end. But he's
That's a
clearly
great
the guy.
moment.
He's clearly also the guy who kills Slim.
Yeah, they don't, that whole, well, not
That's
even.
got to be a deleted scene.
Oh, you
somewhere.
think that he's the guy with the gun?
It's the same gun. It's the same suit, and
you
it's
know
the
what?
same watch.
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that moment, but that makes sense. Also, yeah, I didn't understand the whole stuff with like how Wolf was killed and because he knew something that he knew the secret.
I
which-
guess Wolf was never coming back alive. Once
Right.
Wolf's prison sentence was done, he was going to be killed on his way home.
But that's the thing. Also, you know, he told Gabriel that how Gillon got how he drugged Make-Him Diggs in his last fight. He bet everybody. He bet against them. He won the
He
town.
won
He
all
owns.
the
That's
the
how he
town
owns the
broke.
town.
Yes.
So that secret, I didn't really think that secret was, oh, he doesn't want anyone to know. No one, I didn't really put two and two together about Wolf needed to die. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? So I that even back then, even now, it's just like, oh wait, why did he die? Oh, okay. So because then he says the secret to Emily. He tells her.
He tells her, yeah.
Yeah,
And it was
and then
Wolf
you-
who was supposed to tell you
right.
so that you would join us and help us out.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's dead. You want to still help us out.
Right. But that begs the question, what's Gabriel's play here? Is his play was to always take the town back or just to steal money?
I think his play was to steal money from Gillon. But that, you know, it was kind of a noble thing. But he was doing it for ignoble reasons, obviously.
Right.
So it was like, you really my friend? He's like, I just really want a lot of money.
Mhm.
But when it became apparent that, you know, he's beating up his friends, he's already killed Wolf, you know, it's like, all right, screw this guy. Let's take him for all he's worth. I don't care if I die. So he asked, was it Vinny for even more money?
Yeah, his backer.
His
the
backer for
Italian-
1.5.
yeah,
You
the
just
guy-
kill me
the
right
guy
now.
from Miami,
I'm right
yeah.
here. Let's just kill me. I want 1.5 million.
Right.
So I think it becomes more than money later on. But I think at first it's a score.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sure, he's going to help defeat a douchebag in the process, but he's helping Wolf out because he's going to make something out of it.
Right. Yeah. I think there are a lot of moments in this movie that when I first watched it made me laugh and still make me laugh now. There were a lot of moments that like I really liked in this film just because like, so the moment, one of the things when they're negotiating, you know, when he says, Diggstown is in Oliver County. Anyone in Oliver County is a Diggstown man.
Yep.
And then he puts the bottle over, throws the bottle out, not throws it, but slides the liquor bottle.
Southern Comfort,
Yeah, to
which he's drinking straight Southern Comfort.
they're tough men. When he slides the bottle to Gabriel, and Gabriel flicks the cap off and spins it off. I've always wanted to open bottles like that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I want to open like that. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he's like, and a day is 24 hours. Like that moment.
Right.
I always remembered that moment. I always remember the line when he fights Hammerhead and he's like, I thought you were dead. And he's like, damn, you look bad. Now how this feel? I love that moment. I don't know why I love it. Cause I'm just like, oh, that's a perfect line. I thought you'd be dead already. Yeah, I know. I love the fight. I love the boxing stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the film that, again, when I watched this when I was younger, the whole twist and all that stuff really took me by surprise. You never con a con man, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
You know.
what's it? A hustler. Who's been a hustler and a con man?
You never hustler, yeah.
Hustle has to leave town as soon as the hustle's over.
Right.
A con man doesn't have to because no one's in on the con.
Yeah, kind of leave whenever he wants.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why I love the line where he goes, "Don't hustle a hustler." It's like, you know, he's gonna get his comeuppance because like at that point you already know the con man is better than the hustler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a perfect one because it's like he blows the wheels.
Oh, I love that. That is such a great scene at the end. I was like, when he's fixing something, I'm like, why the hell is he fixing? Oh,
Yeah. Manosa, whatever. Torres, whatever. Yeah.
that's such a good part of the end.
Yeah, because it's funny because he beats Hammerhead, and you're like, oh, that's the last guy, and Honeyroy Palmer overcomes, and then he's got to fight one more. And you're just that's the only way to end the film. Like, you know what I mean? Not to fight him again. And yeah,
because story wise, character arc wise, he's won his character arc.
Right.
So there's no one else for him to emotionally.
So now the full con has to come to an end.
Circle,
yeah.
Although I was expecting that because I knew that was his play with his son. I was like, all right, so who's going to fight in place of his son?
Yeah. Yeah. The line when his son gets the car, then his son loses his car like an idiot. But before that, when they see the truck out front, and his buddy's like, "I give my dick for a truck like that." It's like, really? Like,
I thought the same thing. Why would you ever say that?
What, does that make sense? But then, like, Robbie's like, what would be the point of that then? He wouldn't be able to, what's the point of having the truck? You almost want the line to be like Robbie Turner, like, do you ever think when you talk? Like, do you ever think about what you say?
Get out of here. I like the line when he's fighting Robbie's friend with all the headgear, Jim Caviezel's character.
Yeah.
And he's like, all that headgear is like fighting Darth Vader or some shit. Also, like, remember, yes, he's younger than you. Yes, he's stronger than you. Yes, he has 100 pounds on you. Yes, he hasn't gone 22 rounds. But you're black.
Yeah.
What? I don't know. I'm just trying to cheer you up. It's the only thing. Like,
yeah, you're shit at motivation.
Yeah.
So there's a deleted scene in the trailer that wasn't in the movie so there's a point in the movie where I think the next when he fights Hammerhead, and I think they're in the corner, and Honeyroy Palmer turns to Gabriel and he says, he seems awfully mad. Did you tell him he was black? But that's in the trailer, but they didn't put it. It's not in the movie. Yeah. And there's another moment that's in the trailer that's not in the movie. So, but yeah, I always remember that line from the trailer. And I was like, I didn't realize it was in the film.
I'm sure they did so much improv with James Woods that, some stuff made the cut. Some stuff didn't.
They definitely hit. Woods and Gossett Jr. have great back and forth.
Yes.
That whole thing when he goes to get Honeyroy Palmer to come to Diggstown, and he doesn't no business, and they don't talk, and then like Palmer shows up at the
hotel
room. He's just yelling at him. He's like, I can't believe you got yourself into that money because he made some calls. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Don't expect me to save your ass.
Yeah,
pick me up at 8.
That's a great time. Yeah, when he gets out of bed, his wife's like, who you calling at this hour? People who are up at this hour.
And he just leaves.
Yeah, well, I think he
calls Vinny to get.
I think he made all the phone calls to the people. He knows the same people that.
I think he calls Fitz, and Fitz tells him what the score is.
Yeah,
because Fitz is mad at Gabe because Gabe never asked Roy to begin with. So
right, Well, he
doesn't get drunk.
No, he
takes pills.
He takes pills to not get inebriated, but he doesn't. It doesn't stop the hangover. Yeah.
Do those pills exist?
Yeah, I believe they do.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird. 7 pitchers of beer.
Yeah. And I like Oliver Platt. Oliver Platt's I always find Oliver Platt good in anything he's in.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I think a lot of people in this film are solid, like James Woods, Oliver Platt, Louis Gossett Jr. Like, they are accomplished people who are good at what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think if you had somebody in this movie could easily have been played by some actors that are less than, and I think the stuff we probably would have noticed a lot more. You know what I mean? I think it's well written. I definitely think it's well written.
The dialogue is definitely well written. Yeah,
especially like with cons and with movies that you need to kind of hide what's happening. I think it's done well.
Yeah, you don't get the reveal moments like a heist movie or other con movies, which I think I talked about this in one of the other ones we did. That I'm always just reminded of the Rick and Morty episode now, where they poke fun at all that.
Oh, so they're on the train.
Yeah, so now I'm like, no, the one where he gets out conned and they have to keep making different crews.
Right.
The robot. So now I'm like super conscious of that, and I'm like, that is very cliche. Oh my god! But this movie doesn't. While it is about cons and grifts, it doesn't play that. And now here's the reveal, and then they have to flash back to him hiring and getting it. Just happens.
Yes,
and you're just like, I can see how that happened, or I understand that.
Yeah. The one we talked about Wolf's death a little bit, and I want to go back to that because the one thing I thought is that they really brushed over Wolf's death.
Oh, sure.
Fast. Now, I think that in the long run that helps because we want to get to the fight.
Yeah.
And once we get to the fight where we as an audience don't care because now we're involved.
It's like 50-50 build up, and then the other second half is the fight.
Right. And one of the things I always wondered was, they show up, Gabriel shows up, and he pretends he doesn't know Fitz, and then they're in the league together. Then he makes to show the fact that he knows Emily Forrester, who's Wolf's sister. At some point in the movie, it's like they really weren't hiding the fact that, it's almost like he knew that Gillon knew he was conning him. He was trying to con him.
Yeah, and I like that because they didn't have that, oh my God, It's just he knows, and then obviously Gabe knows about Gillon, so
and Gillon
fine.
Is so egotistical that he thinks he's going to beat him anyways.
Yeah, at that point, it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
So why do we care? Don't make a big deal out of it.
Right. He thinks he's got somebody in here. He's going to get one over on him, which I think I like that. They didn't really voice it. They didn't really say it out loud.
I feel like the cards are all on the table when he goes into, after he gets almost hung.
Right.
And he's just like, let's get this son of a bitch. He goes in and tells Vinny, 1.5 million, you can kill me afterward. He's just like, all his chips are on the table.
Right.
That's where my money's coming from. He doesn't even hide that his money isn't his at that point.
Do you think, obviously his plan was to get as much money as he could from Gillon. Do you think his plan was always to, because he's almost like stringing along the guys from Miami. Marconi? No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm calling him Vinny, but I don't even remember if it was Vinny.
Not Marconi.
It's Victor. It's Victor.
Not Marconi. Marconi's from friggin' Batman.
They're the Corsinis.
Corsini.
Yeah.
He's always trying to get Corsini to. It's almost like he's trying to play the role of somebody who isn't in control. I don't know. At some point, is Corsini in on it, or does he have so much faith in Gabriel that he's just going to go along? He knows that he's got a plan.
I think it's that.
Yeah.
Because obviously he likes Gabe. Yeah, I don't want to have to kill you. I don't like killing my friends, but obviously he's been successful in the past.
Yeah.
That Gabriel can just go into his house and start talking to him like that.
Yeah, and
which is obviously why his little brother doesn't appreciate that.
The Paolo stuff, I think that stuff is just there to have somebody who can threaten to kill Gabriel.
To up the stakes for Gabe, which we don't really need that.
Yeah, exactly. I think you don't need somebody who. It's almost like Corsini's like, just have it come from him and be like, I have to do this. I have to.
If you don't do this, I'm going to kill you.
Right.
Because this comes right after Slim already died. So we already know the stakes are high.
Sure. Yeah. You like the Confederate flag in the bar?
I didn't even notice that. It's Georgia.
I mean, that's going to happen. That's still there. So and the fact that when one of the guys he's fighting, he tells him just,
he calls me N-word.
Yeah, he calls me N-word. Then he just spanks him. He gut punches him.
Yeah, he gut punches him.
And then he just spanks him. And I think that which was funny, but I think that was before the moment when they know that the next guy up is the one that they've been giving the juice to, the water to, that's spiked, and he's like farting and stuff like that. He's obviously gonna crap his pants.
You think that's wait till the next guy?
but the fact that they're laughing. Like I for some reason, I just think the laughter in the corner is, I don't know if it's genuine. It just felt genuine because I was laughing. I was just like, when they knew that what was coming next.
Yeah.
Just give me more water. He's like, yeah, drink it up.
Oh yeah, feeding from that bottle.
The other thing I wondered is anyone in this town not at the boxing match? Like, is everyone there?
I think pretty much everyone's there because I think you get from the start that it's a boxing town. Like boxing is what they love.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really weird thing. Like usually it's a team sport like baseball or basketball or football. It's usually not like single person, boxing matches.
Do you think this film would play well today, would do well? Do you think that not in terms of content or anything like that, but in terms of what they're trying to do, the con, do you think audiences 30 years removed, 40 years removed, 40 years removed from this, right? 30 years. Thank God we're not that old yet. 30 years removed from this film are more intelligent about movies, that they wouldn't really react to it the way, I mean, you had never seen it.
I had never seen it. I still liked it, but I'm also more into movies.
Sure.
I think a modern audience has seen so many grifter and conman movies at this point. They'd have to change it up a little bit, but you could still keep the basic story, the basic premise, I think. You maybe have to make it a little bit more, like throw in more comedy. Maybe expand some of it in terms of like the Wolf stuff. Like we said, with the glossed over Wolf's death and stuff like that. You might have to go a little bit more into it.
They probably would dive a little deeper into that. Let's be honest. If they remade this, they would just make it as a series and it would be terrible. Not like the series on CBC, Diggstown, that we were talking about before. So there's a show called Diggstown on a Canadian show on the Canadian
CBC
broadcasting channel.
Yep.
And it's called Diggstown, but it's about a lawyer Marcy Diggs.
I just think that's weird that they keep the same title. Like they didn't know there was already a movie called that,
that's
a book
30
called
years
that.
ago. Well, I mean, look, please, we still call it. I think they've called the Fast and Furious the same title for like 4 movies.
But that's still the same series.
I mean, they called Scream 5 Scream. I mean, it's like, so
but this isn't the same series. This doesn't take place in the same universe. Oh, wait.
Does it?
Does it?
A couple other things that I like about in this movie is that they don't do the romantic entanglement of Emily and Gabriel.
Yes.
There's a moment there that almost like when he's in the bathroom and he like thinks about like how they had a moment before the fight.
Sure.
And it's almost like he has it in his head that like, no, that's not a problem. I'm not doing that. I like that they didn't do anything romantic there. Now I know off screen they did, but apparently they did during this film. And Heather Graham was 21 when she did this movie, and James Woods was 44. So
yep.
And he looked older than me, and I'm older than him now.
Yep.
That's hard living.
We talk about that in Vampire too. The same thing.
Yeah.
He looks older.
Yeah. I also love. I like that it just ends. Like
yes, I was gonna.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just ends.
Now you motivate me. They get up and they walk away. There's no aftermath.
Yeah, and that's it. Boom. But what I love in the ending is I love when Dern gets punched, because it's the fear in his eyes is the fear in anyone's eyes when you know you're gonna get punched and it's gonna hurt and you can't stop it. And that's when he tries to hit his son again for the second time, and Palmer grabs him and he's like, "Hey, big man." Or he's like, "Hey, brother. My fist hurt. Do you mind taking this?" And it's the brother of the guy that they killed, that they hanged. And it's like such a punch. It's like, it's coming, and you're just and you want it to happen, and you're like, yeah, But yeah, no, I love that moment when he gets punched, because it's just the dread in his eyes, and Bruce Dern does a good job at it.
Oh yeah. But Bruce Dern is awesome.
Oh, of course he is. We're big Bruce Dern fans. Is there anything that maybe hardcore you're like, that doesn't work for me? It took me out of it.
The Vigo stuff was a little kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just having him there, I was like, all right, why is he such motivation for Roy? I just don't understand that part of it, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like the scene where he talks to Vigo. I like the scene where he's talking to Dig at his house, and obviously Dig's unresponsive because he's been blasted with all that chemical stuff in his brain.
Anal nitrates?
Yeah.
Blasted.
Because it's nasal spray, so it's right up to his brain immediately.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I didn't like it. I didn't need it.
You didn't need the Dig stuff?
If Dig wasn't quite as potato-y as maybe he was, like just completely out there and
he moved
gone.
his finger at the end.
I was like, I was okay without that stuff. I was okay with you never really seeing Dig. Like we said, the wolf stuff doesn't really work very well because he just kind of dies.
Did you like the so doctored photo when they show the picture of him and his sister? And
oh my god,
who did this?
Someone who should be fired from the prop team.
Or the fact that the warden fires a gun in the middle of his office. Now we're not worried about a ricochet.
I don't like the warden stuff at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like the prison stuff. I don't know if I like him breaking people out of prison. It's just like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, so this guy breaks people out of prison? Like he's that good?
See, I think once the movie is so short that also, and it's an hour, it's 98 minutes.
It is a nice runtime.
It's a nice runtime, but also once you get to, like you talked about, the last half of the movie, and the fight makes it feel quicker.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like all that stuff makes it feel faster.
Now stuff's happening. Boom,
Right.
boom, boom, boom.
Right. Even when they have to break because of the death, they don't stay long in that break. They get right back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's only 3 hours, even though it seems like it's forever.
Supposedly he had 5 more hours to go or something like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then he beats the first guy like real quick when he comes back from the break. There's not a lot of facts in this film, so a lot of this stuff is just our viewing notes. I do know that this movie was called something else in Australia to capitalize on the sting. They called it Midnight Sting, which is awful, which is an awful title. I don't know, but anyways, I do have that Leonard Maltin complaint that the script is contrived. Which I mean, I'm not sitting here telling you that the script is like top 10 of the year, but I think it does succeed in some moments enough where maybe the contrivances that maybe we didn't have a problem with is because of that, because we were into the other stuff.
Oh yeah, sure, it's contrived. I mean, now all of a sudden you bring in the prisoner guy at the end. Oh, that's a ton of just contrivances.
Well, isn't a con artist film a whole contrivance in and of itself?
That's also true.
Yeah, like, so if you don't buy the con, if you don't buy what's happening, maybe say, oh well, it's contrived. Well, that's an easy note to make if you don't like the film.
I don't know if you can make a conman movie that doesn't have contrivances.
Right.
I just don't think you can.
Well,
I think it's how you tell the story and how the dialogue and characters are.
Right. And maybe it didn't work for them all.
Yeah, it runs on characters.
Why do you think maybe this is forgotten?
I think that I think we talked about this in the vampire episode. James Woods doesn't help the fact that he's in it.
He's 75 years old now, and he's going to say whatever
older,
he wants.
He keeps saying what he wants, which doesn't help. The fact that he's 75 doesn't help. He's just an older star. Louis Gossett Jr. is also an older star.
But I will say this though, in terms of, because there are older stars that are revered, so you do go back to their stuff. Woods is probably not revered simply because of his public persona. That being said, he's a very decent actor in a lot of stuff. Like Mike talked about how he's cocksure in this film. He plays it well.
90s James Woods, super cocky and sarcastic. I like that.
Plays it really well. Louis Gossett Jr. I think is the fact that he's 86 now, or he's in his 80s, in mid 80s.
Sure.
I think that's just a natural progression of an actor aging out. Like I think people have forgotten about Louis Gossett Jr. He's not,
agree.
He's not in a lot. I know he was in the High Flying Bird movie that was on Netflix last year, the year before.
Okay.
But and he's in stuff, but they're smaller films. I mean, obviously, because he's an older person right now. But like, he's an Oscar award winner, and he's a solid actor. I know, like I said, we're doing Enemy Mine, and he's really good in Enemy Mine.
Sure.
Even though he's behind makeup.
He's got 12 projects still up and coming.
Well, they all do. So does Spielberg. Spielberg has like 50.
Mm.
But I think that, and to your point about how these are older actors now, I think in Wood's case, it's more of his public persona. But in Gossett Jr.'s case, I think it's just about he's an older actor now, and people just kind of, I think, just you don't out of sight, out of mind. Maybe because he wasn't in an MCU film. but go ahead. What else would you think?
I think it's also a film that didn't make a lot of money back when it was released at first. Mm-hmm. Probably didn't get good word of mouth. I would imagine it's a con artist film, but it's also a boxing film. I think its genre confuses it a little bit, and are you going to be, oh, come watch it, it's a great boxing film. It's not really a boxing film. Or come watch this, it's a con artist film. But the last half is a huge boxing match going on. Mm-hmm. It's about the boxing in a way. I think that's tough. It's not a comedy. It's not a drama. It just is a con artist movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of hurts it in terms of like placing it. I know IMDb has it listed as a drama and a sports movie, but it's not a sports movie. Not a sports movie at all. And I think all those things kind of combined just hurt it. And it's older. It's early 90s. It's tough to find. I'm sure Pluto only got it because it's super cheap to get the rights for it.
I'm sure. But it's also, I don't think it's a summer film. I don't think August release date is probably not. I don't think that was a good release. I think it's probably like a spring or maybe even like a fall film.
Yep. I agree.
Like a film that is out, is solid. It's cold out. There's really not much to do. Let's go to a movie that it'll pick up business that way. I think it also didn't help that it went up against Single White Female, which was a big hit.
Yeah.
So, and that was like that basically made the careers for a lot of people in the movie. And that, I don't know if that came out of nowhere, but I think that probably didn't help. Everyone was seeing Single White Female and not Diggstown. So that probably didn't help. It's kind of like
killing it. Yeah.
Well, it didn't help its like longevity in the theatrical run or, when later on. So people getting to it later.
Yeah.
Plus you also had the week before, again, you had Unforgiven, and Unforgiven was a huge hit. So, Unforgiven probably carried over as well. So I just don't think I think it just came out at a tough time. And it's not, listen, it's almost, I'm freely admit that it's a fun movie. It's a fun film to watch. It's a good film, but like, I can't sit here and tell you like I can't gush over this film like a movie like Michael Clayton, which I think is phenomenal.
Right.
It's not like that, but it's fun. And it's a movie that I enjoy and I still enjoy watching.
Sure, yeah.
And some of these movies are just destined not to make a lot of money and not to be successful. But when everyone I've talked to that has seen it has liked it. I've never had somebody be like, ugh.
Diggstown.
Right.
Ugh.
It's just I think it tells the story well and it does a good job. And I think it's definitely a movie that people should revisit and check out. And if you can find it, it's on Tubi.
And Pluto.
So I mean, yeah, I'm glad you kind of liked it. I'm glad that you dug it.
Yeah, it was absolutely a fun movie.
Yeah. Sweet.
Good
All right.
time.
Where can they find us?
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. While you're there, check out all the other great podcasts and videos we have for you. And wherever you're listening to this, we're available on all podcast platforms like we talked to you about before. So while you're listening right now, give us a like, a rating, maybe review us, subscribe. All that kind of good stuff helps us. And we're on the social medias. Join us on Facebook's Forgotten Cinemas The Lobby, where we talk about films. Have you seen Diggstown? Will you watch Diggstown? What do you think about Diggstown? And yeah, that's what I got.
Join us next week when Pat Whalen from yet another MCU podcast returns to guest to do the MCU film Wind River. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not an MCU film. It just has MCU people in it. Starring Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen. I forgot her name. So Elizabeth Olsen's in that.
Were you about to say Elizabeth Holmes?
I was. That's because I love that podcast. So that's next week. Wind River. Are you looking for? You've seen this movie.
I love this movie. Yeah.
Oh, great. So it's just going to be a love fest.
That's right.
Fantastic. Exciting podcast material right there. Until then, everyone have a great week. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.
Attention Nerdy Nights, join Flo, Anders, and me, Colleen, at the well-rounded table for Bohemian Geek Studies, where we take extremely dorky dives into our favorite fandoms.
From that Star Wars galaxy far, far away to Outlander's Scottish Highlands, we consume it all.
Listen along with us each week as we explore the stories that mean so much to us. Bohemian Geek Studies is available wherever you get your podcasts and is proudly part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. Entertainment family.